Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar with Sellafield. After the huge success of the webinar last year, we've decided to run another. So Sellafield has been advertising their roles with us now for over 10 years, and they also sponsor the Gradcracker Toolkit. So the brand new Gradcracker Toolkit is out now, so you can see a copy of this here. It is basically a sector guide for STEM students. So if you want to know more about the sectors that are open to you, and also top tips for when you're job hunting, go to your career service today and pick one up. Alternatively, go to the Gradcracker, click on Toolkit on the top menu, and you can be able to see the online version. So Sellafield has sponsored the Toolkit, so they've got a double-page spread all about the nuclear and energy sector. So what we'll do today is we'll start the webinar by speaking to Molly. So thanks for joining us again, Molly. Molly was on the webinar last year. And then we'll move on to grads Michael, Omal, Anna, and Ginger. So Molly, could you tell the audience a little bit more about you and your role at Sellafield?
Yeah, of course. It's lovely to see everybody again a year on. So my name's Molly. I work within the recruitment team here at Sellafield. So I joined the business about 2 years ago, and I joined the early careers recruitment team. So we looked after the recruitment and onboarding of all graduates, students and apprentices. It's lovely to see the 4 grads on today because I recruited them last year, so it's nice to see them and know that they're getting on well. Yeah. I've recently moved into a slightly different role as a recruitment advisor within the business, but still working very closely with the early careers space, so our graduate schemes, placement schemes and our degree and apprentice schemes as well.
Yeah, thank you, Molly. And tell everybody a little bit more about Sellafield as an organisation.
Yep, so at Sellafield, we're here to create a clean and safe environment for future generations. And if you join us or you look to join us, you will see and hear that a lot because we really do live and breathe it. Yeah. So we're cleaning up the birthplace of the UK's nuclear industry. And by doing this, we generate growth and employment. So that's within West Cumbria, where our main site is based, in Risley, the Warrington area, where we also have our design offices. And then on top of that, we generate employment through our supply chain too. With more than 40,000 people in our supply chain partners who really are the best of the best, and our 11,000 people workforce that we have here at Sellafield itself.
It just blows my mind how big Sellafield is and how many people you employ there. Honestly, every year when you tell us those numbers, it takes my breath away. So I know, Molly, you just mentioned about all of the students that you get to see, 4 of the grads here. Having spoken to many students over the years, I bet there's quite a few misconceptions that you kind of have to tackle, either about Sellafield in general or the nuclear industry. What kind of misconceptions would you like to myth bust as part of this webinar?
Yeah, so the main one that we get, and we see it throughout applications as well, and sometimes we hear it further on, is that Sellafield is a nuclear power plant and that we produce nuclear power. We don't. So we don't do anything like that. Some of the grads on here today might have thought that right at the start when they heard of Sellafield. So main thing, just do some research and look into what we do. So that's the main myth. Another one as well, some people can be quite cautious, quite scared to come up and work on the Sellafield site because it can sound really dangerous. There is so many safety precautions in place, and the grads on today will know that nothing is on a whim. Everything is very planned out, and it's made that everything and safety is at the forefront. So don't be worried either. It's not a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, got quite a few smiles there when you said that, Molly. So I'm guessing that everybody kind of agrees with you as part of this. So what I want to do now is meet the grads and tell us a little bit more about your stories. So Michael, I'm just going to start with you. Could you tell the audience about where you went to university and what did you study?
Yeah, afternoon everyone. So I studied avionics systems at the University of Liverpool. I was there for 4 years, did an integrated masters. Basically, it's like a big foundational electrical and aerospace engineering. So that was my degree.
Perfect. And we'll find out a little bit more about the transition between your degree and why you chose Sellafield later on, when I hand over to Sophie. Omal, tell us a little bit more about your background. So where you went to uni and what did you study?
Hi everyone. So I went to Cardiff Uni. I studied chemistry for 4 years, and like Michael, I did an integrated masters. So I graduated last July.
Last July, perfect.
Long time ago.
Thanks, Omal. Anna, on to you.
Hi everyone. So I went to Sheffield Hallam. I started off doing mechanical engineering with a year in industry. I didn't do that at Sellafield, unfortunately. I did that at Outokumpu in Sheffield, which still works. I then went on and did a master's at Sheffield Hallam again in international business.
Perfect. And then you went to Sellafield.
And then I ended up at Sellafield, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And Ginger.
Hi everyone. So I also did an integrated master's in Earth and Environmental Science at Lancaster University.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Ginger. And it's worth saying that all of the grads here found their roles on Gradcracker. So when Molly was talking before about, doing your research, making sure you know all about Sellafield, Gradcracker is the place to do that. So pick up the toolkit, like I've just mentioned before, go to the Sellafield hub and find out lots of information about them as a business, as an organisation, and hear from the profiles of the graduates and interns, which have got the employer profiles on the hub. So what I'm going to do now is go on to the top fact round, one of my favourite rounds. And Molly, I'm going to start with you.
Yep, so my top fact about Sellafield is that the Sellafield site itself is the size of 6 Wembley stadiums. Yeah. And also just a nice fact to add in there to let everybody know this year is that we are recruiting for our biggest ever graduate intake with 150 graduate vacancies on offer.
Lots of opportunities, and Molly will talk to us a little bit later on about those as well. So thank you, Molly. On to you, Michael.
Yeah, my fact of the day is the waste house at Sellafield will remain radioactive for 100,000 years. So pretty long term.
Pretty long term, yeah. Thanks, Michael. Mal?
I was going to say that as part of our scheme and the role, you get plenty of opportunities to go on plant tours and a lot of visits. So there's lots of opportunities.
And you want to talk about site visits, don't you, as well, Mal? Because Anna is the expert at those. Oh, I'm just doing it then. Anna, before I'm saying, don't ask me about the site visits. I'm not going to do that, love. I'm not going to do that. Tell us about your top fact.
My top fact, sorry,
Yes,
yeah, I will
yes,
talk
please.
about the plant tours later because they're a bit extracurricular, you could call them.
Oh, good. Yeah, like it.
I will talk about it, don't worry. Touching on from what Molly said, you're not expected to walk around 6 Wembley stadiums. We do actually have our own bus system, so you can jump on a bus to get from site to site around the site. It is very large. That's for the 11,000 plus people. We also have an armed police force called the CNC, which is Civil Nuclear Constabulary. I said that correctly.
Well done.
Yeah, they'll look after all the nuclear waste all day, every day, and they do that around England as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Anna. And Ginger.
So my top fact is that Sellafield had reprocessed nearly 60,000 tonnes of spent fuel, which was more than half the amount of spent fuel reprocessed anywhere in the world.
Wow, brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you very much, Ginger. Molly, so can you give the audience a bit of an overview of the opportunities that you've got open? So currently on your hub on Gradcracker, you do have 16 graduate opportunities which are open. So tell us a little bit more about those and what's to be opening soon in September and November.
Yeah, so the graduate roles that we have listed at the moment, and we have 16, as you mentioned, on the Gradcracker hub. Yeah. They are all for our 2-year graduate programme. So a September, late September, maybe early October 2024 start. All 2-year schemes, and they range, so there really is something for everyone. So if you have studied engineering at university, we have engineering and maintenance schemes, along with some really good commissioning and construction schemes that are based up in the Cumbria site. Yeah. Then on the other side, we have our Risley design offices, and we have design engineering schemes, and Michael's on one of those schemes now. All 4 disciplines: electrical, chemical, civil, mechanical. And then if you're more with the science and the maths background, we have our technical scheme, environmental, which Ginger is on the environmental scheme. And then we also have some schemes that are quite unique to Sellafield itself. So we have a radiological protection and safety support scheme, a safety case scheme, and an operations scheme available. These are quite unique to Sellafield. So if you're wanting something that you're not going to get somewhere else, those are some really interesting schemes to look into. And then as well, some interesting ones like architecture, building surveying. They were relatively new last year, and we've got those as well. And then your ICT and cyber. along with, if you're not in that engineering category, we do have project management, commercial, business and finance. So there is so many, and it really covers everyone. So there is something.
Okay, and just thinking from a student's point of view, Molly, can they apply to more than one opportunity, or do they just need to be focused on the one role that they want to apply to?
Yeah, they can, if they'd like to. We do try to suit you into the scheme that's best for you, so that we do have you on the right path from the start. For the students that are watching as well, we have student opportunities going live at the end of September. So that's 12-month industrial placements to be done as part of your university course, and your 10-week summer placements as well. So they will go live at the end of September. And then at the start of November, we will have our degree apprenticeship schemes going live and our apprenticeship schemes, and they will also be on the Gradcracker Hub, so everyone can find out more about them on there.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Molly. So just to shout out, if you're looking for your graduate position, they are open now for you to go and apply to. Make sure watch the webinar first and then apply to them afterwards. And if you are a student or looking for a degree apprenticeship, follow Sellafield on Gradcracker today, and then when they do go live on our site, you'll receive an email and push notification. Before I go on to hand over to Sophie, we've spoken a lot about the Sellafield site, but Michael, talk to us a little bit more what the Risley site looks like.
So the Risley site is a design office. It's got about 1,500, 2,000 employees now.
Yeah.
You've got every kind of engineering you could think of going on in there. It's just an office, so there's no like site or it's smart formal wear going in. Okay. Situated in Risley, so smack bang in the middle of Liverpool, Manchester. So it's quite a nice area to be in, to be fair.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few people there, though, isn't there? So you mentioned between 1,500 and 2,000. So
yeah,
you've got that community.
It's 2,000 now, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Super. Thank you very much, Michael. Sophie, here's the baton.
Thank you, my love. I want to kind of start by finding out a little bit more from you guys before we kind of dive into your roles, about what made Sellafield kind of stand out to you and why you wanted to apply to them. I know all of you use Gradcracker, and obviously you use Gradcracker to do all of your research and find the roles, and also watched the Sellafield webinar last year. But it'd be great if you could give us kind of some key things that really made it a place that you wanted to go and work. So starting with you, Michael.
Yeah, sure. There were many, but obviously for the sake of time, I'll limit it to one. I think it's important just to mention at the start that I was at the start of my 4th year when I was on Gradcracker, and I was on this webinar and I was looking at all this kind of stuff, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, which was quite important in my decision making. When I went on Gradcracker and I found this, I realised after a bit of research that it's simply no ordinary job. After research into it, like I knew I'd be seeing things that I don't normally see every day. The complexity and the severity of all the different things and problems going on with Sellafield at the site at the moment, and all the huge and quite frankly mad projects that they're undertaking to tackle them, it really made it stand out. I knew the work could be quite important, and it's a very hazardous site and it's serious for the safety of the UK. So I felt that the work that I'd be doing would be valuable and it'd be quite exciting. And yeah, that's why I applied.
Amazing. And did you know that you would be based in Risley when you applied, or were you thinking that you'd be based at the overall Sellafield site?
Yeah, so when I looked at the roles on Gradcracker, they made it quite clear that design would be based down in Risley, and the other types of engineering would be on site. And I did look at like both. I think I'm from quite a designy background. I did some stuff at school doing that, so I kind of wanted to stay within design rather than kind of be on site. And yeah, so I applied for.
Perfect. And just kind of leading on from that, because you mentioned at the beginning that you did avionic systems at university, which obviously doesn't naturally kind of associate with nuclear. What kind of made you go from that background to actually then going to work in nuclear? How did you know that your skills would be applicable in the industry?
So I literally, it was quite lucky actually. I did a module on nuclear physics in my third year, and it made me realise that okay, the nuclear industry is really interesting. Maybe I'll look into a career in nuclear or something like that.
Okay.
And I went on Gradcracker. I was expecting, like, as we said before, like nuclear power generating. And then when I found this, I kind of, this is just another kettle of fish altogether. So I was like, right, maybe go for this instead. And my degree was about, like, we'll say roughly 70% electrical engineering, 30% aerospace. So then I thought I had a good chance of like being equipped enough mentally and skillfully to be electrical engineer. So I applied.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. I think that's a really good point for our audience to take away, that no matter what you're studying, there are opportunities out there and your skills are so transferable to different industries. Even if you are studying something, say, as niche as avionic systems, there are still so many companies that want that skills and want that transferable skills into their industry. So do be open-minded when you're looking for your roles as well. So thanks for that, Michael. Omar, I'm going to come to you next. So what was it about Sellafield that made you want to apply?
I think for me, like similar to Michael, I went on Gradcracker. I had a look at the hub on there. I had a look at the profiles of past graduates and things like that. And I really liked what I saw in terms of what they got up to and the opportunities that they had. And I'm on the technical scheme, and I had a look at some of the past technical graduates, and they got a lot of varied type of work. And for me, when I was sort of looking at grad jobs, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do at that time. I think my degree could be quite flexible in what the type of work that I would go into. So this showed me that it was a really interesting industry, and also there's a lot of different opportunities to do a lot of different things in that industry. So that really attracted me, and also I think I saw the manifesto, and you'll hear, if you do come to Sellafield, you hear a lot about it, and it is very important for us, and that really came across through the websites and everything that I looked at. So I thought that was a really good way to a really good thing to have, I think, for somewhere you work.
Yeah. Amazing. I think you're right. You know, just from the last couple of years doing these webinars with Sellafield, the variety really does stand out, and I think that's a really attractive prospect for a lot of students. So thank you, Omar. Anna, coming to you next. What made you choose Sellafield?
Well, I was pretty open when I was looking, you know, I was happy to go anywhere. All I knew is that I didn't want to, I want to go into projects. I learned that from my year in industry. Although I was a mechanical engineer, I learned that I want to go into projects. That's what I kind of thrived on, you know, kind of that communication and organizational aspect. But I knew I wanted to be on large scale projects. I didn't want to be on product development, for example. So Sellafield put a big tick in that box, and it still does. The projects are large. 3 other quick things I wanted to say. People don't really touch on it, but it is a very competitive salary. So that is really good. You really do get paid for what you do. I mean, everyone will back me up on this. We do have some responsibility, not some, in fact, a lot. We are working and we do get paid for that as well. I'm on the project program and project controls placement, so I get to go on 4 different placements, which I think is amazing. And it's vital to my development. I'm seeing all corners of Sellafield, which is great. And it is arguably the nicest place to live in England. The lakes are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
It is a very, very nice place to be. I don't like traffic anymore. I've lived the high life up here. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Those are all really important things that you've kind of pointed out there. And you're right, the location just is unparalleled, you know. Having that on your doorstep is brilliant. So thank you, Anna. We are obviously going to come back to you and find out more about your roles, because I kind of want to touch upon a couple of things that we've mentioned before in kind of the run up to the webinar as well. And Ginger, finally with you, can you let us know what was it about Sellafield that made you want to apply?
Yep, so I actually learned quite a bit about Sellafield during my degree, but more from an environmental perspective. And then I'd gone on to do further research about it for my master's dissertation. So because of that, it was already a place of interest to me for a couple of years. However, I was pretty much sold by the fact that the environment grad scheme is structured in such a way to give you the most exposure to all environmental aspects of the business, which I really liked. as well as the opportunity to gain chartership and the guidance that you get towards achieving that as well.
Yeah.
And then I also really like the fact that there was going to be such a large cohort of graduates.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And this just shows the importance of doing your research as well. You know, you obviously did a lot of research into what the scheme involved, you know, what exposure you were going to get. And then, you know, obviously where it could take you in your future career, which obviously will have come across in your application. So it is very important to really get a good understanding of the schemes before you apply. So thank you for that, Ginger. I think that gives a good insight. I'm going to come back round everybody now just to find out a little bit more about your current roles and kind of the teams that you're working in. So Michael, starting with you, I know you mentioned that you're a design engineer and you're in the design team at Risley, but can you tell us, you know, what does that mean, and what does a team that you work in actually do?
Yeah, so I'm a CE&I design engineer. I didn't understand what I meant at the start either. Control, electrical, and instrumentation. Initially, I thought that was like throw some cables down. Turns out it's not. It's an awful lot more. The three main areas of electrical engineering that's kind of split up. So I work predominantly now for the control systems team. So that mainly looks at like how we automate processes. Like we've got a lot of remote handling, cranes, robots, like automated ground vehicles, like you name it. Like, so yeah, I work on that kind of thing at the moment.
Okay, wow. And how many people are in that particular team that you work with, Michael?
Yeah, so it's a weird kind of split. So you don't actually have like a design team. You've got loads of different projects. So I work for a project called SRP.
Okay.
It's a long acronym, so I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. But so within there, so you've got like you say you have your SRP project. Within that, you've got your 4 different disciplines of engineering. So control, electrical instrumentation, process, mechanical, and civil. So I'm within the electrical space or the control systems team, and then that's what I look at. So it's not just one big design team; it's split by projects. Then you've got other parts of the building where they only focus on certain, like, say, types of engineering. So I'm also part of a team that looks at control systems across every project, and we deal with like the much more like hard to kind of grasp issues and very specific problems that take specialist advice from my higher ups, not me. I've only been there a year, so I just like to help out.
One day.
No, that's great. I was literally just about to ask you how long you'd been at Sellafield when you said that. So I was like, you've got a lot of responsibility here.
Yeah, so I'm coming up to I think with 11 and a half months, I think. So almost a year.
Our induction is a year ago next week or something like that. Or it was our induction week.
That feels long,
happy anniversary,
long
guys.
I was going to say that, happy anniversary.
Okay, great. So yeah, we'll come back, Michael, in a little while, because we're going to go into detail about some of the projects that you guys have been involved in. But that gives us a good starting point as to kind of the team and the environment that you work in. So thank you for that. Omar, coming to you next. Could you tell us a little bit more about your current role, what you do, the team that you work in?
Okay, yeah. So that's sort of been a bit of a stage of change for me because I've just started a new placement. So I will tell you a bit about both, I think, because they're completely different and it's very exciting. So in my first year, I was in the encapsulation plants technical team. So this was a plant-basing team. I was on the Sellafield site every day that was in the office, working on the plants for any technical justification that they needed to get anything through the plants, and also looking after the stores. And that was a really challenging role because it was very different every day, because we didn't really have a set job role. It was whatever the plants needed, we did, I guess. And so we had our like normal tasks that we did, but it was very much prioritized whatever came up with the plants and the stores and things like that. But just last week I started a new placement with the integrated waste management team. So I'm in their strategy team now, sort of having a look at the planned strategies across site, and I thought that would be a really interesting way to get a better view of what's actually going on around the site as well.
Amazing. So is that your second placement, and will that take you through to the end of the graduate scheme now?
No, so I'm on the technical scheme. So we have 2 placements. We have a base team placement for 18 months and then a 6-month secondment. So my base team placement is the encapsulation plants technical team, and then I'll be with this new IWM strategy placement for 6 months, and then I'll go back to the encapsulation plants for the final 6 months of the scheme.
Brilliant. And how much kind of, you just said then that this was an area that you wanted to work in. So did you have quite a lot of input as into the 6 month secondment that you had?
Yeah, definitely. That was very, very self-driven. Obviously, I had an idea of what I wanted to do. And then I went to speak to my line manager, and we get mentors, and they were really helpful in encouraging me to find the right people to speak to organize that. And once I did find the people, it was really simple to arrange it all. It's a very well trodden path. So it was a very smooth sailing experience for me. And yeah, it is what you want to do though. No one told me I had to go into this. I found it and said, yeah, this is the area that I want.
That's great. And I think that's so nice that you do have that kind of control as to where you want to go. And especially with an organisation like Sellafield, as we've touched upon, with the variety of opportunities that are out there, that you could potentially do anything that you wanted to. But it's great that you have the control over of where you go next. So thank you for giving us that insight, Omar. Anna, I'm going to come to you next to find out a little bit more about what you do and the team you're in, because as you mentioned, you are on the program project management scheme. I also kind of want to ask, because you came from a mechanical engineering background, then did international business, and are now on a non-technical scheme. So it'd be great to hear about kind of that journey and why you decided to go down the non-technical route as well.
So it all kind of came from my year in industry. I mean, I liked mechanical engineering. I found it, I wasn't bad at it to say or anything like that, but my strengths are in the kind of communication and the organizational aspects. I'm very headstrong in that way, and it's kind of a perfect fit for projects. So I would say to everyone, don't be alarmed if you're thinking, oh, I don't want to stay in engineering, because it's not a bad thing. It's actually really helped me, because when I go on site and see the engineers, like Michael's side of engineering, CS, and I always forget as well, I do communicate with them. They sometimes come up to site, we'll have meetings with them. So my kind of background knowledge of mechanical engineering actually does really, really help. So I'll still have it in there. I can, make some more educated suggestions. But I thought projects where I always want to go, and I applied, and I'm really loving it, and it was definitely the right decision. Like Amal said, he chooses his secondments. On my scheme, we don't choose, but I think there's benefits to that as well. There's benefits to ours get chosen all 4, but our team are constantly looking at our competencies we have to meet throughout the scheme. So they're fitting us in roles to make sure we meet them. And obviously we're doing 4, so it's just a bit easier to slot us around and move us around to make sure that we don't end up in the same. So we have 4 value schemes at Sellafield. So sometimes people would tend to choose one that they're enjoying or they felt comfortable in, and that would kind of knock them back development wise, if that makes sense. So it's actually sometimes good to be thrown somewhere you might initially not want to go. And it's gone really well for me so far. So but of course, if there is somewhere you really, really want to go, you can obviously ask to do that, and that can be worked out for you. If you have a good business case, you'll learn a lot about business cases. You have to make a business case for everything. But so my first placement was in program management, and I was in the End States capability program. So we did things like create stakeholder engagement plans, schedule plans for the technical End States team to support them in coming up with how they're going to remediate the site, what section is going to be, what state each section is going to be in. It might not be a grass field, but you'll learn about that when you come. And my current placement now, I'm actually working on the golf ball, we call it, which is the Windscale Advanced Gas-Cooled Reactor. The acronym for that's WAGR. You'll see hopefully when you join Sellafield, why it's called the golf ball. or you could just Google it. That's a very exciting project. I support the project manager with that. And as I touched on before, I work with a lot of people. We work with a lot of contractors. I work with engineers, commercial teams, design teams, every corner. So that's a really good placement to be in. My team, I sit with about 6 people in the office, but as I keep saying, you talk to a lot more people than that.
Yeah. Again, variety is the spice of life, it sounds like. There's a lot.
You don't get bored.
Yeah. And are all of your placements, Anna, are they all based at the actual Sellafield site, or would you potentially be based at Risley at one point as well, or is it all for you at Sellafield?
We typically wouldn't on the program project. I've got to make an acronym for this. No, that's another acronym. I can't do that one. No, we wouldn't go down to Risley typically, unless you kind of ended up in a design project team.
Yeah.
Very few do go down there. So to be bluntly, no.
No, it's good to know. It's good to know. Brilliant. Okay. And finally, Ginger, could you tell us a little bit more about what your role entails and the team that you're in?
Yeah, so my role is a graduate environmental advisor, and currently I'm a few months into completing my second 9-month placement in a delivery area on site. This area basically looks after and stores special material. So that involves ensuring that the facilities are compliant with environmental regulations that are given to us by the Environment Agency, which is our regulator, and also keeping the environment safety cases even up to date, and undertaking continuous approval audits, things like that. My team at the moment basically falls under what's called the EH&S umbrella. So that stands for Environment, Health and Safety. So the teams will basically have people in environment and then people in safety, so environment advisors and safety advisors. So that's interesting. That differs from my first 9-month placement, which is in corporate offsite. So I'm on site at the moment, and that was offsite. And that was in a team of purely environment people. So yeah, it's been different going from one to the other with the different team dynamic and that.
I can imagine that obviously at a site like Sellafield, the environmental aspect is so incredibly important that it must 100%. Be so well regulated, as you said. There's so much to kind of comply with, but also so much to learn, even though you've obviously come from a degree background in environmental science, but then applying that to real life must be quite different, I imagine.
Honestly, there has been so much to learn, and there still is so much to learn.
Well, I'm going to stick with you actually, Ginger, and as we kind of move on to talk about some of the key projects or things that have stood out as part of your career so far. So could you tell us, if you can, in any detail, kind of one of the key projects that you've been involved in?
Yes, so at the moment, I'm currently completing my first objective in the area that I've moved into. So I'm writing an environment case for a facility in my area that has recently entered its new phase, which is called post-operational clean-out. So when it was operational, its purpose was to turn recovered liquid product from the reprocessing side of things, because that's what site used to do. So it turns that product into a stable oxide powder that's suitable for storage. But that process is completely finished now. So what I'm doing is I'm writing the new environment case for its clean-up phase. And this is a document that's written in accordance with the standard ISO 14001, which is an international standard for an environment management system. And so this document will look into the environmental impacts of the facility, the mitigations that are in place to ensure that we remain compliant, which is the most important thing. So to ensure that we remain compliant with the permits that are issued to us by the EA, the Environment Agency. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. That will be due to hand in basically in November. And the paper will go into what's called scrutiny, which is a committee where you have loads of people in the room, duty holders, stakeholders, people in operations, people in engineering, and they'll go through it page by page by page, scrutinizing all of it for approval. So
that's a nerve-wracking time.
I bet it is. And a lot of responsibility very early on again, that something that's so important. to the business, and then kind of being scrutinized, and you're thinking, I've only been here 9 months, this is so following, that scrutinizing, would that then go on to, say, Michael's team or somebody else's team to kind of then implement the actual cleanup and the next phase then?
Yep. Yeah, so that's why you have to have all the engineering and operations people in the room, because they'll be the ones to implement it. So if I've written something and they're like, oh no, we can't do that, then that discussion has to be had.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a very collaborative process, which I like, because then I get to engage with people outside of my capability environment, which is good. Yeah.
And it also sounds like the writing of that document is very scientific, but also very kind of commercial as well. You have to have both heads on it at each time to write that, and it be understood by non-technical and technical personnel. So
yeah, it does have to be very well explained.
Yeah. I do not envy you. So no, that's great, Ginger. Thank you so much for giving us an insight into what you've been working on so far. Michael, I'm going to come back to you now. If you could enlighten us about one of your favourite projects or one of the key projects you've been involved in.
So when I'm CE&I, obviously, when I joined, I went to BEPS 2, which is, right, bear with me now, Box Encapsulation Plant Product Store 2. Right, okay. Not one of them.
Well done.
So it's basically like a big vault. For the waste on site, we put it into big cubed boxes that are made out of steel, and we shut them away in vaults so that they can't harm anyone. That's probably like in the middle of its design phase. We were looking at in my team specifically, we're looking at how we're going to power the building. So where are we going to lay like the cable routings? What do we need to consider? That was really, really interesting, and it gave me like the first big thing that I noticed with it is I chose to be on the electrical side, like rather than mechanical or civil. I was dealing with them since day one. It's like, you want to, like, say for example, you want to put something in some place, but like the civil engineers have just designed a wall there, and like mechanicals need a vent going through or something. It's very, very collaborative. Like you kind of have to, as I said before, we're in our separate teams. So I'm the C&I team, but it doesn't feel like that in the office, because like day to day you'd be working with mechanical to be like, right, how can we compromise, sort out a solution here? So that's what I did in my first 6 months. Probably the same as Omal, as design engineers. I believe it's all design engineering. You get to choose 4 secondments. But as I said, you can go to the projects you like, but you can also kind of weigh up with what's really good for my development. I've only worked on new builds so far, so major projects. So like as Omal said, he's like, could we work on things that are actually on site specifically now? We're looking at things that we're designing things that could be installed like around 2030. So we're looking future rather than at the moment. I think quite a lot of design is like that at Risley. For the secondment I'm on now, so I'm just about to finish, and I'm working for SRP, which is Sellafield Product and Residue Store Retreatment Plant. God, I did not think I was going to be able to do that now. But I was working for them. We have vaults on site which have some of our more dangerous waste, and they're in degrading waste packages. So this is a plant that looks at basically repackaging the waste and putting it back in. So as I said, I then moved to the control side. This is probably like my favorite project so far, to be fair. Worked on the control system side, where we're looking at how can we justify the security of the things that we're using. So we use a lot of remote handling, a lot of like robots, because obviously you can't really put humans into the area. So it's like, well, how can we make sure that's uptight and secure? How can we design them perfectly? Do we need to modify them? And things like that. So yeah, I've loved that. I'm actually moving up to the Sellafield site in 2 weeks' time. So I'll be doing something. I'll probably keep that, say that for a while. But yeah, so I'm moving my next one up to site rather than staying down in Risley, and then I'll come back down afterwards to another 6 months to come in Risley.
I was actually going to ask you, Michael, whether you had the opportunity to go and kind of work physically on site. So I think that's obviously going to be really valuable, isn't it?
Yeah, I might as well touch on it now. With regards to like different kind of engineering pathways, there are different things that suit your development. So for me as a design engineer, it's quite handy for me to go up an experience site where I'm not going to be doing design engineering at all. So I'll be doing plant and reliability engineering when I go up there. I'll be working for in retrievals, so on a site that's physically pulling waste out day by day. And it just gives me the experience to go up, see that. Would I prefer it? Would I not? And if it doesn't, if I want to stay design, well, I've got all that background of experience, so I see how the things work. We're based like 130 odd miles away from site, so it's nice to kind of come up and get that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really good, that the way that you're thinking there of, okay, it's something completely different, but I want to make sure that I've experienced that to ensure that I'm in the right place for the rest of my career. And I think that's, you know, a way that we would encourage all graduates and people looking to apply to be thinking that, you know, don't just stay in your comfort zone. Make sure you kind of look outside of that and take opportunities that you maybe haven't considered before, but actually might suit you really, really well. So I think that's a really good tip there, Michael.
There's a lot of advice from like your higher ups who can help you out and say, I think this might be good for you.
Yeah.
Do this kind of thing. So yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. And coming across to you, Anna, now, if you could tell us a little bit more about the projects that you've been involved in.
So at the moment, I'm on the WAGA project, Wind-Scale Advanced Gas Core Reactor. It's a bit easier than Michael's one. The golf ball again. So I don't work on any interesting ponds or any interesting waste stuff or anything like that. But the interesting thing about my project at the moment is the amount of responsibility I've got. I've only been in it 6 months, and I'm effectively leading a project, which is just amazing, something I really enjoy. So the project I'm working on, we call it soft strip, which is effectively redundant equipment clearance. So that's in the reactor building. The reactor was already taken out, but at the moment there's redundant everything. Scaffolding, ventilation ducting, old electrical panels, everything. So I run a contracted team who strip all this stuff out. I deal with issues they come across. One of our big issues across the site is asbestos. Believe it or not, it's not all nuclear issues. Asbestos is a big issue. So obviously, I mean, Ginger was saying about the environment and all the safety things. There is a lot of processes to go through, so you do hit a lot of problems with that. So I run the team. So day to day, I prioritize their work, check in daily, weekly meetings with all the stakeholders, report back to the Sellafield side of things. How is this project going? And we've actually been doing so well that we were granted increased funding a couple of months back. So we've actually uplifted to 2 teams. So I was involved in creating the contract for that. So going out to the contractors, getting quotations. Is this feasible? Do they have enough capability to give us this? And then going over to the commercial team, getting that contract written up, getting relevant paperwork signed. You'll learn at Sellafield lots of paperwork. That's okay. I'm sure it's like that in every industry.
Yeah.
Got that contract signed up, and we're good to go now. We've got 2 teams running, which is a bit of an increased workload, but projects is very busy, so it's a good place to be. Aside from that, you know, I approve payment applications, constant communications, and writing sanction papers to get again more funding. And everything at Sellafield is in the millions and plus, so I don't think you're going to be asking for a little bit of money. You're asking for a lot. Which is why all our paperwork is so important.
And takes probably quite a lot of time and thought, and exactly.
And everything you do has value. It's quite an interesting project, this one, because I've got demonstrable progress. Things are being taken out. We've been working for around 12 months and we've got rid of 85 tons of waste. So we're just a team of 10 lads working there at the moment. If any women want to go work with them, please do. So I can stop saying lads. But yeah, they're doing really well, and it's really good to be involved with so many people, as I said before. So,
No, that's great. And it sounds like you've got access to so many different types of people as well in that role. You've got, like you said previously, you know, that technical knowledge will come in handy. And, you know, you've got exposure to really like high volume transactions and things like that. So that's amazing. Omar, I'm going to come to you now to find out a little bit more about your project so far as well.
Sorry, did you see me then?
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
I thought, oh gosh, have I gone mute?
No, sorry, that was just my speaker cutting out for a minute there. But,
no
so, like I said, I've just started my placement, and already, like everyone else has said, they do you're not just sitting there on your placements. They give you work. You're there to really help out and make a difference. So a couple of big things I'm doing right now is my favorite thing at the moment is definitely I'm putting together a bit of a technical overview on all the treatment and conditioning plants across site. So what I'm basically doing is just going to people and asking them to tell me what their plants do, which is really interesting because I get to go and learn about everything that's going on site basically, and I'm putting all the technical information, digesting it, making it sort of understandable, and writing it out, making it easily accessible to anyone that wants to know about a certain plant or a certain facility, and they haven't got the time to go and have hour-long meetings with each and every person they want to go and speak to. So I'm putting that together as one of the first things that I've been doing. That's just really rewarding in terms of what I wanted from the placement, which was to learn more about site, and this definitely takes that box for me.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with that. And a bit of technical understanding as well.
Wow. That's a lot that so far just in one placement, because you said that you'd only been there in the last 6 months.
I started last week.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay,
so,
amazing.
I started that last week. I'm also bits into writing a report for the Environment Agency as well on why we have a certain type of waste stored as we do, and that's requiring a lot of stakeholder engagement across all the 4 value streams that I think was Anna mentioned before. So that's also going to be very, very scrutinised. So like I said, they don't just have you sitting there and say, oh, look, we have a graduate scheme. You really do get a lot out of it, and there's a lot of work to be done.
And what are your plans following this 6 months placement? I know you said that you then go back to your first team, but looking to the future, what would be the kind of the next step after that?
So provided that you have a successful grad scheme, I think most everyone does, we'll hopefully be offered a permanent role afterwards, and that can be, I'm not sure how it is for the engineers, that is most likely going to be with my base team that I started with, but also there's room to talk about that as well. If you much preferred your secondment, your placement, then I think there's room to have that conversation to say, right, this is what this person would prefer, and then you can work something out like that. So like I said, I've only been in this placement for a week now, so I'm very much enjoying it, but I'll probably cross that bridge when it comes to my 18-month appraisal, which is in 6 months. So I think definitely I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I really enjoyed my old job as well. So it's going to be a very difficult decision for me. I have to speak to my chartership mentor to see where they think that I'll probably do best in terms of my chartership and professional development. So I've got a lot of support for that decision as well.
Amazing. So I think it sounds like, all of you are going to have a lot of input into the kind of the next phase after you've finished your graduate schemes, as to what you do next. But I kind of want to move a little bit away from the day job now, and find out what else is on offer at Sellafield. Because I know this is always a really important part for our students and graduates. What else could they get involved in at an organisation? So from social events, networking groups, sports, can you tell us a little bit more about that side of things? I'm going to start with you, Ginger.
Yeah, so there are so many different things to get involved in. I'm not going to steal the shine from some of the grad council members here. They'll talk more about that. But they do put on a lot. They do a lot of work for us. There are different networks that you can join at the company, different sports events that are put on, and then even like outside of work, there are still so many different activities you can get involved in. I mean, we're in the Lake District, as Anna said, the most beautiful part of the country. I personally love exploring it myself. But there are definitely lots to do outside of the day job. But I'll let Anna and I'll talk more about how they get involved in that.
Okay, I'm intrigued now. So Anna, I'm going to come to you. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, Ginger's right. There is a lot going on. The Lake District is beautiful. I just want to mention that when you come to Sellafield, you'll have a week-long induction with everyone. I think there's going to be like 150 of you, I think Molly said. That is absolutely amazing to make friends. That kind of touches on what I would say my main advice is get involved in everything, join every single group chat. It's my main advice, must get that in there. But the Grad Council, you get to apply for the Grad Council. There's many different roles. There's plant tours, fundraising, there's community and education on there. You know, a grad, I can't remember what it's called, grad coordinator you're called, Amal, aren't you? You know, he's in charge, he's the boss. But I'm plant tours, and the reason I applied for this one is I think it's vital to see the plant around the site, different plants. You know, you don't get to see, even if you have 4 placements like me, there is a lot more than 4 projects going on. So we organise tours for the graduates, and we don't just organise them around the site, we organise them externally. We went to NAMRC, which is Nuclear Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre. We went down to Springfields in Preston. We're going to Hartlepool soon. You know, there's a lot to see. It's also good to learn about how the wider industry operates, the things they're doing, take learning from them. So it's just a great thing to get involved in as well. So you've got a lot to sign up for. I wish we had some of the education team on here. There is a lot of volunteering opportunities to get involved in. A lot. You'll get emails a lot, and you'll want to do everything, but remember you're working as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anna. Omar, anything to add?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as I said, I'm one of the coordinators of the council, and we basically help each and every part of the council. We have our social sects who put on amazing social for us every month. Basically, they're outdoor, indoor. There's lots of walking, going for meals, go eat, things like that. Because obviously, some people have moved quite a long way to come up to West Cumbria. And also we have our social sects in Risley as well. So it is quite daunting. And as people have been saying, there's going to be 150 people, and that's amazing because, I mean, so I went on holiday with some people I just met last year, just last weekend. So you do make fast friends very quickly. And like everyone else has been saying, it's a Lake District. I think I've seen so many pictures of Anna on a paddleboard.
Yeah, I did buy a paddleboard, and actually 2 other grads bought the same paddleboard, each in a different colour. So
yeah, there's so much to get involved in and do. So we run. I've organised a badminton group that play every week. There's football. I think there's netball now as well, and basketball every week as well. So there's so much that's just us coming together and organising ourselves. So that will always still be running. So there's always stuff to do outside of work, and like Anna said as well, the volunteering. There's a lot of like school-based activities, mentoring. You can be a tutor for some local school kids, things like that. There's a lot to get involved in that is not just fun; it's also personal development as well. So yeah, it'll really help you in the long run.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, it's been amazing hearing about all your day-to-day stuff as well as the social aspect. But I'm going to hand back to Carla and Molly now, because I want everybody to know how exactly to apply to these roles, because I know everybody's going to be rushing off after this webinar. So over to you, Carla.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So amazing opportunities and experiences that you've all had. Well done. Big shout out. Well done for the acronyms as well. I don't remember all of those.
You did really well.
You did really, really well. So Molly, let's chat through the recruitment process.
Yeah, of course. So it's probably worth noting to everybody that I know the 4 graduates on today said they've done integrated masters and they've done master's degree. That's just pure coincidence. A lot of opportunities are available from bachelor degree level. All of that will be on the Gradcracker hub as well, and it'll be noted on all of the jobs. But if you follow through the Gradcracker hub and through the advertisements on there, it will take you to our website. Now we have quite an exciting new step this year called the realistic job preview. So you'll notice at the bottom of the advert there's a link you can paste into your browser. There's a little bit of advice on what browser you're using and how it works. And it comes up, it's a little bit like a test, but it just assesses your answers on certain scenarios, and by that a score can decide whether you would suit one of our graduate schemes, and taking into account what we look for in our graduates and our locations and things like that. The test might advise you at the end that we don't think the scheme is not suitable, but we might not think you enjoy it as much. So it's worth a bit more research if you do get a response like that. but it gives you the chance to know whether you're on the right path straight from the start. And then following that, you can apply via our website, which the Gradcracker Hub will take you to. We will do online testing. The online testing stage you do online at home yourself. That will happen throughout September, October time. And then we'll have video interviews that take place throughout October, November. And then we finish off with a virtual assessment centre. Those will be throughout November and December. So we will keep you informed on the different stages, but that's our graduate process.
Perfect. And what have you got any deadlines, Molly, that students need to keep to?
Off the top of my head, we do, Carla, and I can't think of them. But we depends on all of the emails. But they might change from now up until the time that we start these activities. One thing would say, keep checking your emails and check your junk, because we are expecting a lot of applications. We do try and give you a call first, but in the modern day, not a lot of people answer the phone, so we will reach you. So check your junk, because our email address sometimes does end up sitting in your junk folders.
Yeah, and answer your phones. Come on. Molly's going to be ringing you. She wants to speak to you. And Molly, I mean, the grads have said about the amazing opportunities that are on offer at Sellafield, but is there anything that you want to pick out and tell the students who are watching what would be the key benefit to you?
Yeah, I think it's just the variety, like you've mentioned. Games, there really is something for everyone. If you are currently on a path that you want to continue, that will be supported. If you're like Anna, who starts a path and then decides actually you want to go down a different route, you'll be supported there as well. And some secondments that the graduates do are in different areas. So you might start a specific scheme, but you do a secondment in a slightly different area. So it really is 2 years of development. And I mentioned there is a graduate development team. Hand you over from recruitment onto them just as you start, and they do look after you that whole 2 years. And so you really are supported. You're not left to it once you start. You are not monitored, but looked after the whole way through your mentors, your graduate development team, and your line managers as well.
And what I really love about Sellafield is that you have different types of mentors, don't you? So you've got your personal mentor, your chargeship mentor, like Omar mentioned as well. So you definitely have that support network around you. So guys, you've definitely inspired students to apply. What bit of advice, I know you've kind of covered this, Anna, but if you've got another bit, chuck it in there. But what bit of advice would you give a student who's going to be starting at Sellafield next year? Michael, you go first.
Probably a lot, but it's Sellafield's like its own little world. You're not going to understand everything the first week. You're not going to understand it in the first month. Everyone's really, really friendly. So just ask questions and try to find out as much about what you're doing as you can. And help you understand what we do and why we do it.
Brilliant. Yeah. Ask questions. That always comes up in these webinars. Make sure you ask questions. Thank you, Michael. Omar?
I would say get stuck in and really engage with everyone, especially in that induction week. You're going to meet a lot of new people. Try and just really engage and get to know people, because outside of work, there'll be probably your support network. As I said, there's 150 people going to be there, so it's going to be a great opportunity to meet new people and just get to know people.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Omar. Anna, anything else? Something that you said earlier on in the webinar, which has really stood out to me, is, make sure you obviously ask questions, but challenge yourself. And I think that's a good thing as well. You could sit in your little bubble and, just poddle on, do what you need to do. But I think challenging yourself is a big thing as well, I suggest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, reflecting what everyone else has said, ask questions. Don't expect to know everything. It's just showing that willingness to want to know. That kind of comes into your application as well. If you get asked a question in your interview and you don't know, that's okay. Just show, I want to know about that. Tell me more about that, etc., etc. That's my main advice. And get stuck in as well. As I said, join everything, organize everything, and just enjoy yourself. Just enjoy it.
You definitely come across like you enjoy yourself, Anna.
Yeah, we do have fun. Yeah.
And sorry, Ginger, what bit of hint and tip would you give?
Just echoing what the others have said, really. I would say any opportunity that you get to push yourself out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
absolutely take it, because it will do wonders for both your personal and your professional development. I mean, one, you'll benefit in the long term, but two, being on a grad scheme, especially the Sellafield grad scheme, your development is always at the forefront. So just never forget that, really.
Perfect, thanks, Ginger. And just to reiterate what Anna just said, that interviews do work both ways. And so obviously you'll be getting asked questions, but you can ask questions back as well. So don't forget that if you are successful and go to the interview stage and meet the lovely Molly. So thank you guys, you've been absolutely amazing. Really, really enjoyed this webinar as always. Hopefully we'll see you same time this year when we're holding another webinar, and Molly, you'll hopefully join us as well. So just a couple of key messages to get across. So the graduate positions are currently open, so you can get your applications in now. And be careful, read the job description carefully. Placements are opening towards the end of September, beginning of October, and degree apprenticeships are opening in November. So if you want to do the latter two, follow Sellafield on Gradcracker to be alerted via email and push notification. So thank you, everybody. Next Thursday, we're going to be joined by Cummins. So hopefully we'll see you all then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.